Welcome to GODSpeed, where truth meets life in under 10 minutes. I'm AK, and this is hope for your journey.
Do your efforts seem small when compared to what others are doing? You see the big donations, grand buildings, and all the impressive achievements of others and think, what I have to offer doesn't really matter. Today, I want to challenge that because it does. Today's story takes place when people put their money where their mouth is, at the temple treasury. This is the space where people would make their donations. The area contained 13 different chests that had lids in the shape of horns, and people would drop in coins. You could literally hear the size of the contribution being made. It's here where Jesus and his disciples sit, and people watch, observing citizens as they gave. This reading comes from the book of Mark, chapter 12, verses 41 through 44. Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a few cents. Calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They all gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." From this powerful story, we will reframe what makes a contribution valuable, understand why we give, and then reinforce why it matters with an example. First, taking things at face value is the wrong value. If you look at this story superficially, it seems like Jesus is just making a point about rich versus poor. The rich gave a lot, the poor gave a little, and Jesus appreciated the one who gave a little. But that's not all that's happening here. The insight isn't about the amount of money. The important part is what the giving reveals about the giver's heart. The wealthy, in this instance, gave out of their abundance. What they gave didn't change their lifestyle, didn't require going out of their way, and it didn't cost them anything beyond the money. And yet people would look at them and give them praise and honor. But the widow, she gave everything she had. Her gift wasn't just generous, it was sacrificial. It cost her something real. But to others watching, it would seem insignificant, maybe even unnecessary, because the total amount was small. This is meant to teach us not to measure our contribution based purely on their amount. They're to be measured by what they cost. A small contribution that represents real sacrifice is worth more in God's economy than a large gift that costs the giver nothing. So why give it all, you may be asking? I did. No one would have blamed the widow for not giving anything. In this time, widows were among society's most vulnerable people. Without a husband to provide for, no kids, limited opportunities to earn income, they depended on the charity of others. This woman had no safety net, no backup plan, no political influence, and yet she gave. Think about the wisdom this reveals. She recognized that her relationship and trust in God was more valuable than her own security that she could manage through accumulation. If I'm honest, this challenges my thinking. I struggle with a scarcity mindset, often saying I'll give more when I have more, I'll be generous when I'm financially stable, but the widow teaches me that generosity is a heart condition, not a bank balance. Faithful giving activates us in ways saving can. Faith empowers us in a way material wealth never could. The last thought has allowed people to make their contribution, to be a part of the story. See, Jesus allowed the widow's gift. The woman's last 2 coins were given when she could least afford to give them. Jesus observed this, he called it out, but he did not return her offering. He simply commended her faith. A reminder, the definition of faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The act of giving connects us to something larger than ourselves. It declares we trust in more than our bank accounts, credit cards, or possessions. I came across a story about a lady named Osceola McCarty, a washerwoman born in 1908 in Mississippi. Due to a family member falling ill, she dropped out of school in 6th grade and washed laundry by hand for most of her life. She never married, had no kids, never owned a car. She got rides with friends to attend church. She worked, served her community, and saved. In her own words, work is a blessing. As long as I am living, I want to be working at something. Over time, that working and living below her means compounded. And once she reached retirement, because she didn't need it all to live on, she gave $150,000 to the University of Southern Mississippi, a school she never attended, never had any affiliation with. And for the longest portion of her life, it didn't even allow for Black students. But when her generosity was announced, it was the largest gift that a Black person ever gave to that university. And it sparked a wave of people adding to her gift, and generosity rippled. When you give more than required or expected, when you contribute from your heart rather than a surplus, you discover something powerful. You're not just supporting a cause or helping others, you're participating in God's work in the world. You're displaying that your life is about more than just accumulation. And like Osceola, it inspires others. The greatest contributors aren't necessarily the ones whose names go on buildings or are seen on TV. The greatest contributors are the ones who give from their hearts, who sacrifice something real, and believe firmly and with faith their needs will still be met. God, open my hands and heart to give. Help me not stop at what satisfies or impresses the world, but at a level that moves your heart and shows I trust you. Help me to see that my small offering matters more than I realize. Amen.
I will always love you how I do. Let go of a prayer for you. Just a sweet word